Good evening, Doctor. I am Kiran matrix number SDL24100026 from the program of Masters of Management MOM. I'll be presenting today to you, Doctor. All right, Doctor. Today I'll be talking about I will analyze Malaysia's macroeconomics performance from 2020 to 2024, a period marked by one of the largest economic shocks which happened in Malaysia and in modern history, which is the COVID-19 pandemic, followed by a multi-year recovery and structural policy reforms. Macroeconomics focuses on national-wide indicators such as inflation, unemployment, GDP, and government spending. Understanding these indicators helps us to see how Malaysia's responded to economic pressure. Households were affected and how government policies shaped recovery on that time, Doctor. In this analysis, I will look at the major components, there are three components: unemployment trends, inflation movements, and the last one will be the fiscal policy, including stimulus measures and long-term reforms. This is what I have presented to you, Doctor. All right, Doctor. Next will be the macroeconomics versus microeconomics. Simple as that. Before analyzing the trend, it is important to differentiate macroeconomics and microeconomics. Macro examines issues at the aggregate level, which is national unemployment, inflation. Macroeconomics examines issues that are enlarged level, interest rates and GDP. These indicators shows the performance of the entire Malaysian economy. Microeconomics looks at the individual firms and specific markets. For example, macro view, Malaysia's inflation rate rose due to global oil prices. Micro view, a family in Johor reduces their grocery because of food prices increase. In the presentation, my focus is fully macroeconomics because I am analyzing country level data and national policies, Doctor. So the next slide will be the unemployment trend chart, which Doctor can see from 2020 to 2024. This graph shows that Malaysian unemployment rate from 2020 to 2024, unemployment increased from 4.5% in 2020 to 4.64% in 2021, just in 1 year, the highest in decades. The rise occurred because lockdown forced business closure and the tourist, retail, construction sectors and almost health and international borders were closed. The main reason, reducing the economic activity, Doctor. For example, in Sabah and Langkawi, thousands in tourism lost their jobs. Factories in Selangor, Penang operated in a limited capacity, increasing job losses. By 2023, unemployment fell to 3.86%, shows strong labor market recovery. The next slide will be the unemployment analysis. The spike in the unemployment during 2020 to 2021 was mainly cyclical unemployment caused by a downfall in overall economic demand during the pandemic. The government responded aggressively with policies such as wage subsidy program WSP, where employees received subsidies to keep workers. This program alone protected more than 2.7 million jobs. Another example is the Penjana hiring incentives, which gave up to Rm 1000 ringgit monthly to employers who hired unemployment Malaysians. As a result, rehiring gradually increases, especially in manufacturing, logistics, and services by 2023. Unemployment returned almost pre-pandemic levels due to reopening of the business, economic growth, and vaccination rollout. This slide talks about the inflation trend, which is this chart shows Malaysia's inflation rate in 2020. Malaysia entered deflation at 1.1%, as we can see. This means general prices actually fell. Why? Because global oil prices collapsed, even reaching negative prices in the US, and domestic demand was extremely weak due to lockdowns. But from 2021 onward, inflation rose as global economics reopened, supply chains disruptions, which is and also container shortages and high shipping costs, and food prices of course increased that time, caused upward pressure on price that time. Inflation peaked around 3.4% in 2022 before stabilizing in 2023. This slide is about the fiscal policy, which is in 2020 to 2024. Alright, Malaysia used fiscal policy as the main tool to stabilize the economy. During the pandemic, the government introduced more than 300 billion in stimulus package, which is as we known as Prihatin, Permekasa, Pemulih, and Penjana. This included cash aid, wage subsidies, loan moratoriums, and support for the SMEs. For example, the 6-month loan moratorium helped millions of Malaysians maintain financial stability. By 2022 to 2023, the focus shifted to fiscal consolidation, reducing the deficit by cutting blanket subsidies and replacing them with targeted subsidies. In 2024, Malaysia introduced policies supporting long-term growth such as EV tax incentives, green technology financing, support for the digital economy through my digital SME grants for automation. Business cycle linkages. Alright, on this slide, Malaysia experienced clear phases of business cycle. As we can see, 2020 to 2021 was a contraction. Economic output fell due to nationwide lockdowns. Unemployment rose, inflation fell, and GDP shrank by 5.6%, the worst since the 1998 Asian financial crisis, as we know, after so long. And the next will be the 2022 recovery phase of us. Border reopened, vaccination rates increased, and economic activities resumed. Consumer spending improved and unemployment dropped. Next will be the 2023 expansion phase. Exports recovered. This is mostly recovered and we known as manufacturing strength, and domestic consumption increased. Tourism rebounded strongly again after break, contributing to GDP. Government stimulus act as an expansionary fiscal policy, pushing the economy into recovery faster than we expected. This slide, critical evaluation of policies. There are several successes and challenges. The main successes was which subsidies protected millions of jobs. Next will be the inflation stayed lower than many other Asian countries. And economics recover was strong with GDP growth above, which is 8.7% in 2022. The challenges, sorry doctor, the challenges faced was is the challenges in this is the main was the debt which is from public debt increased significantly, memang terus naik due to a large stimulus spending. Blanket subsidies benefit high income households more than low income, raising equity corners. Cost of living pressures, especially food prices, mainly was the food prices was remained high and it was increasing very high. Compared to Singapore or Thailand, Malaysia used more subsidies to moratoriums which protected people by raised long-term fiscal pressure. The next slide will be the conclusion and key takeaways. In conclusion, as I can say, Malaysia demonstrated strong resilience from 2020 to 2024. Unemployment decreased sharply due to effective labor market interventions. Inflation was contained because of subsidies and price control. Fiscal policy played a critical role in stabilizing the economic and supporting long-term structural reforms in digital and green sectors. Moving forward, Malaysia must balance economic growth with fiscal sustainability, especially by reducing dependence on blanket subsidies and strengthening high-value industries. As doctor can see, this is the references I used, doctor. I've googled some and I've used certain in ChatGPT, but I didn't copy it as fully for my mind answer, but I take mostly from the references as doctor can see from here. Thank you so much, doctor. So I hope that I have explained in certain way which doctor can understand. If there is any mistake I've done or anything in this slide, I'm really sorry, doctor, but I hope you understand, doctor. Thank you so much, doctor.